You guys have been really enjoying the transfer portal content over the last 2 weeks or so today I'm going to go ahead and talk about 20 more big time and crazy transfers who entered the 2025 portal. We've gotten a lot of interesting names over the last couple of days, and honestly some unexpected arrivals as well. As I said, we're going to go through 20 new transfers that have put their name in the portal, and I'm going to talk about who they are and how they've done so far. But before we get started, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you want to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I can cover next. Now let's get started and talk about 20 more transfers. Okay, so the first guy I want to talk about is Bear Alexander. He's currently the 5th ranked player in the 2025 transfer portal and is a 4-star player. Coming out of IMG Academy, Bear Alexander was a top 150 recruit in the country. Bear was a top 50 player coming out of high school in the class of 2022 and enrolled at Georgia. In his first year with the Bulldogs, he finished with 9 tackles and 2 sacks, with 2 more pass deflections. He then transferred to USC for both 2023 and 2024, and in total in his time there, he's had over 50 tackles, 2 pass deflections, and 1.5 sacks. But this past season, he was not on the field much, so he's now entering the portal a second time. He has 61 total tackles, 4 pass deflections, and 3.5 sacks, and while he has NFL potential, we'll see if his third destination will bring him anywhere closer to playing on Sundays. Our next guy is big-time wide receiver transfer Nick Anderson. He's currently the 7th overall ranking player in the portal, but coming out of high school, he wasn't all that big of a deal. He was only listed as a 3-star recruit according to 24/7 Sports, and that came out of high school. He had 29 catches for 529 yards and 5 more touchdowns, and he is the younger brother of former Oklahoma star Rodney Anderson. In total at OU, he registered 38 catches for 798 yards and 10 touchdowns, and that all came in 2023. He missed 2024 with an injury, but many expect Anderson to end up in the SEC. Today, we saw the addition of Williams Nwaneri to the 2025 transfer portal, and he's currently ranked as the number 10 overall transfer. Coming out of high school, Nwaneri was a huge deal, as he was apparently the number 6 player in the class of 2024, and would arrive at Missouri with a lot of fanfare. He ended up going to Lee's Summit North, and in total, he had 149 tackles, 25 TFLs, and 23 sacks. Nwaneri ended up being deep on the depth chart and finished the 2024 season with 2 total tackles and 1 sacks. This is honestly a pretty huge loss for the Missouri Tigers, and I'm not quite sure where he's going to go, but I assume he will go somewhere big, and he might be chasing a paycheck. The fourth guy I want to talk about is James Williams. He's currently listed as the 14th best player in the 2025 transfer portal, except though coming out of Park Hill South High School, he was not exactly seen as that big of a product. He ended up going to Iowa Western Community College before eventually enrolling at Nebraska in 2023. In 2023, he had 4 total tackles and 2 sacks, and then in 2024, he had 14 tackles and 5 sacks. Obviously, Williams put up great stats in limited time, and at 6'6", he has plenty of potential. Right now, he's currently being projected to Florida State, and he's a big-time addition who has NFL potential. So much for Kentucky's low receiver class, as now both Barion Brown and Dane Key have entered the portal. At one point, Barion Brown was a huge deal, as coming out of Pearl-Con High School in Nashville, Tennessee, he was a tremendous athlete who both ran and caught the ball, and was listed as a top 75 recruit and the number 9 wide receiver in the country. Barion Brown ended up having a decent 3-year career at Kentucky, as he caught 50 passes as a freshman, 43 passes as a sophomore, and 29 passes as a junior. In total, he caught 122 passes for 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. Now Barion Brown will enter the 2025 transfer portal, and he's currently listed as the number 13 player overall, and should go somewhere big. Up next, we get to talk about a very interesting player, as we have Will Helt from Purdue. Coming out of Carmel High School in Indiana, Will Helt was not exactly seen as that big of a player. He was the number 69 edge rusher in the class of 2023, and the number 717th overall player. Also, fun fact, that's where I went to high school, so it's been really cool seeing Will Helt go from a guy who went to the same high school as me to now being a 4-star transfer. In his 2 years at Purdue, he had 68 total tackles with 5 sacks, and at 6'6", he has crazy potential. Helt is currently listed as the number 39 overall player in the portal, and like a lot of these guys, should be a big-time playmaker at his next stop. The next playmaker I want to talk about is Mario Craver, a wide receiver from Mississippi State. It seems like every year now the Bulldogs produce some sort of big-time receiver that goes to the portal, and currently he is listed as number 18 overall prospect. Coming out of high school, he was listed as a 4-star player coming out of Clay Chalkville High School in Alabama, and as a freshman this past season, Mario Craver caught 17 passes for 368 yards and 3 touchdowns. At 5'10", he's a little bit undersized, but he has a lot of potential and is an insane athlete, and I'm excited to see where he ends up. Up next, I want to talk about another wide receiver, as we're going to talk about Chase Sowell from East Carolina. Coming out of the Texas high school football system, Sowell was a 3-star recruit and a top 1,300 player in the class of 2022. He had originally arrived at Colorado, but really wouldn't get a chance to get on the field much. He had 2 catches for 23 yards. He then decided to transfer to ECU for the 2023 season, where he caught 47 passes for 622 yards and a touchdown. In 2024, he ended up having 34 catches for 678 yards and 3 scores, and now he has entered the 2025 transfer portal and is currently listed as the number 31 overall player and a 4-star prospect. Sowell in total has 83 catches for 1,300 yards and 4 touchdowns, and many project he will end up at Florida. There are a couple of big-time offensive linemen in the 2025 transfer portal, and one of those guys is Braylon Moore, the number 30 overall player and a 4-star transfer from Virginia Tech. Coming out of Freedom High School in Pennsylvania, Moore was listed as a 3-star recruit and a top 800 player in the class of 2022. Moore would then pretty much start every game in both 2023 and 2024, and has decided to enter the transfer portal where he should go somewhere big time and has NFL potential. I have no idea where he will end up, but he is an exciting talent to watch. It's been a disastrous couple of years for Kent State, but not for current player Cameron Olds. Coming out of Midlothian High School in Virginia, Cameron Olds was listed as a 3-star recruit coming out of high school, and he also got to spend some time at Fork Union Military Academy. Originally, Olds would decide to enroll at Buffalo, where in 2 years there, he ended up having 9 tackles and 1 forced fumble. He transferred to Kent State for the 2024 season and had a breakout performance. He finished with 42 total tackles, 1 pass deflection, 6 sacks, and 1 interception. If anything, Cameron Olds is kind of going under the radar right now, but he's currently listed as number 27 overall player in the portal and should make some sort of Power 4 program very happy next fall. Up next, we have what in my opinion is one of the most shocking transfer portal additions, and that is Maalik Murphy, the quarterback from Duke. Going back in time, after being at Junipero Serra High School, Maalik Murphy was a top 10 quarterback and a top 200 player in the class of 2022. Murphy was very highly rated, as during his senior year, he passed for 3,000 yards and 22 touchdowns, while also performing very well in camps. Murphy would end up being a backup to Quinn Ewers, but would get a chance to play a little bit in 2023, throwing for 477 yards with 3 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. After knowing he wasn't going to play, he decided to transfer over to the Power 4 level to Duke, and this past year he had a great season, throwing for nearly 3,000 yards with 26 touchdowns and 12 picks, while also leading Duke to 9 wins. Maalik Murphy had a lot of big games, and many were really excited to see what he could do in year 2 under Manny Diaz, but instead he kind of surprisingly entered the portal. After reading Reddit and reading social media, it seems like this was very unexpected, and a lot of people aren't very happy with this move. Sure, he might be trying to go somewhere bigger, but after having a ton of success at Duke, I almost wonder if the grass is really all that greener on the other side. Still though, this is a huge addition to the 2025 transfer portal, and currently he is listed as number 12 overall player, and should go start at another Power 4 program right away. Up next, we need to talk about Zechariah Poyser. Coming out of Wildwood High School in Florida, Poyser was listed as a 0-star recruit in the class of 2023, after playing both defense and receiver there. He ended up enrolling at Jacksonville State and would play in 5 games as a true freshman, before breaking out in 2024 with 75 tackles, 3 interceptions, and 8 pass deflections. Poyser is currently ranked as the number 37 overall player in the portal, and will definitely jump up to the Power 4 level. I'm not sure what was in the water for MAC programs this year, but they had 2 of the top tight ends in the country, as Harold Fannin Jr. went to Bowling Green, and Ball State had Tanner Koziol. Currently, he's the number 35 overall player in the 2025 transfer portal, and the 4-star player from Ball State wasn't always that big of a deal. He ended up going to Nazareth Academy in Illinois, but was a 2-star recruit and the number 482 wide receiver in the class of 2021. When Koziol arrived in Muncie, Indiana, he has done nothing but show out. He had 35 catches for 373 yards and 7 touchdowns as a freshman, 34 catches for 295 yards and 3 touchdowns as a sophomore, and then this past year had a career-high 94 catches for 839 yards and 8 touchdowns. This was all for a Ball State program that wasn't very good, and in total in 3 years, he had 163 catches for 1,500 yards and 18 touchdowns. Koziol is probably the top tight end in this year's portal cycle, and in my opinion is good enough to play at a top tier, top 10 school, and will definitely go on to play in the NFL at some point. Going back to the wide receiver position, the number 1 player in the portal right now is currently Eric Singleton Jr. from Georgia Tech. Coming out of Alexander High School in Georgia, Singleton was not even a top 1,000 player in the class of 2023. When he arrived at Georgia Tech, he did nothing but produce. He had 48 catches for 714 yards and 6 touchdowns as a freshman, and then 56 catches for 754 yards and 3 touchdowns this past year. Honestly, taking a look at that stat line, I'm not quite sure why he's the number 1 overall player in the portal, but he's definitely an electric talent who has a lot of potential and will definitely probably play in the NFL. I'm sure he'll go to a top tier, top 5 program and ball out and then go off to the draft. Staying at the wide receiver position, let's go ahead and go over to a MAC player by the name of Reggie Virgil, who's a 4-star transfer from Miami of Ohio and is a number 20 ranked overall player. Coming out of Mount Dora Christian Academy in Florida, Reggie Virgil was a 3-star recruit and barely a top 1800 player in the class of 2022. This came after he was a first-team All-State player as both a running back and a receiver, and Virgil in his 3 years at Miami of Ohio ended up doing nothing his first 2 seasons before breaking out this past year. With the Red Hawks, he caught 41 passes for 816 yards and 9 touchdowns. Right now, Virgil's gotten a ton of Power 4 offers and will definitely find his way playing in big-time meaningful football next fall. Washington State had a really good season, and part of that was due to their running back Wayshawn Parker. He's currently the number 21 overall player in the 2025 transfer portal, and he comes out of Washington State. He ended up going to Grant Union High School in California. He rushed for nearly 2,000 yards and 24 touchdowns as a senior, but Parker was only listed as a 3-star recruit and the number 1,670th overall player in the class of 2024. Parker ended up being a diamond in the rough though, as a true freshman at Washington State, he ran the ball 137 times for 735 yards and 4 touchdowns. Parker has at least 2 more years in college football, is the kind of running back that can really help out a big-time program. It's sad that he's going to use Washington State as a stepping stone, but he'll get a chance for a big payday and will play for a big-time program. Up next, we need to talk about another offensive lineman, as we get Jordan White, a 4-star offensive lineman from Liberty. He's currently the number 26 overall player in the portal, and coming out of the prestigious DeMatha Catholic High School in Maryland, Jordan White was a 3-star recruit in the class of 2020 and has played 4 years of football for Liberty. He'll have 1 more season, and currently many are projecting him to go to Michigan, where he should be a really good starter for a big-time team. For one of our last 3 players, we need to talk about a running back by the name of Fluff Bothwell. He definitely is one of the best names in the 2025 transfer portal, and Bothwell is currently ranked as the number 22 overall player in the portal from South Alabama. Coming out of high school in Alabama, he was not even a top 2,000 player in the class of 2024, but he ended up blowing up while he was at South Alabama. During his freshman season, he ran the ball 111 times for 832 yards and 13 touchdowns. He's currently another player projected to go to the Power 4 level, and man, there's a lot of really good true freshman running backs who are making the jump to the next level of football. Now we get to talk about another quarterback, and that is Luke Kromenhoek. Coming out of Benedictine Military School in Savannah, Georgia, Kromenhoek on some sites was a 5-star recruit, but consensusly was a high 4-star. Kromenhoek had nearly 7,000 yards and 73 touchdowns during his 3 years as a starter, and this year was supposed to be the backup to DJ. He ended up playing a bit at the end of the season, but really struggled. He threw for 500 yards with 3 touchdowns and 2 picks, but the 6'4 freshman has plenty of potential, and this is a huge loss for Florida State. He'll likely transfer to another big-time Power 4 program, and I think his ceiling is pretty much limitless. Last but not least, we're going to talk about Oklahoma State wide receiver De'Zhaun Stribling. Coming out of the state of Hawaii, Stribling ended up putting up big stats while he was in high school, as he caught 64 passes for 872 yards and 9 touchdowns. Because of that, he was listed as a 3-star recruit in the class of 2021 and would decide to enroll at Washington State. Stribling would end up playing 2 years for the Cougars, catching nearly 100 passes and over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns. He's then transferred to Oklahoma State these past 2 seasons, where he broke out in 2024 with 52 catches for 882 yards and 6 touchdowns, despite an inept offense. In total, Stribling has 161 catches for 2,100 yards and 17 touchdowns, and he is ranked as the number 33 overall player in the portal, and will also go to another big-time program. But what do you guys think? What do you think of these transfers? Who's the guy I should put in my next list, and what topic should I do next? Be sure to let me know down below. Leave a like if you want to support today's video, subscribe if you're new, and check out all of the videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.